Aliens rejected this weak warhorse at auction until a human girl bought it and transformed it forever. The auction block of Theta Station reeked of ozone and desperation. Lena Rowe stood at the back of the crowd, her worn jacket doing little to ward off the station's recycled cold air. Around her, alien buyers from a dozen different species jostled for position, their translators creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and guttural growls. The auctioneer, a Vraxian with mandibles that clacked with each word, gestured toward the holding pen. Lot 47. Solarian Warhorse Model Asterix Class, 7 years of service. Recent injury. Suitable for parts or other purposes. The crowd murmured dismissively. Lena pushed forward as the gates opened. The creature was magnificent despite its obvious suffering. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, Asterix moved on 6 legs that trembled with each step. Its armor-plated hide, once probably gleaming obsidian, was now scarred and dull. One crystalline eye had been shattered, replaced with crude metallic plating. The neural interface ports along its spine sparked occasionally. The warhorse's remaining eye swept across the crowd, and Lena saw something that made her chest tighten. Not aggression, but exhaustion. Defeat. The look of a being who had given everything and been discarded. 50 credits. A Krenathi merchant called out, laughing. For the biomechanical components. Lena's hands clenched into fists. They were talking about Asterix like a broken machine. 500 credits, she called out, her voice cutting through the mockery. The crowd fell silent. 500 credits was more than a broken warhorse was worth, and nearly everything she'd saved from 3 years of maintenance. Work. Sold to the human. The transport cage barely fit in Lena's quarters. She'd had to move out everything that made the space livable. Now it was just her, a sleeping mat, and Asterix. The warhorse hadn't moved since delivery. It simply stood there, head lowered, watching her with confusion. Hey, Lena said softly. I'm Lena, and you're going to be okay now. She'd done her research. Asterix-class warhorses were Solarian military property, bred for combat. They were intelligent, fiercely loyal, and capable of bonding with a single rider. When that rider died, or when the creature was deemed no longer combat effective, they were typically euthanized. This one had somehow ended up at auction instead. Someone's cruelty. She opened the cage door slowly. I'm not going to hurt you. And I'm not going to use you. You've done enough fighting. Asterix's head lifted slightly, its remaining eye fixed on her with startling intensity. The first week was brutal. Asterix wouldn't eat. The expensive protein slurries sat untouched. The creature simply stood trembling, the damaged neural ports sparking in obvious pain. Medical scans confirmed chronic pain from improperly healed injuries, neural damage, and severe psychological trauma. The veterinary AI recommended euthanasia. Lena deleted the report. Instead, she began talking to Asterix. About Earth, about rainforests, about music and art, and all the things that made humanity cling to beauty, even in darkness. She didn't know if Asterix understood, but she talked anyway. On the 8th day, she found Asterix had moved from the corner to stand by the food bowl. Progress. Lena began rehabilitation in earnest. She couldn't afford proper treatments, so she improvised. Human anti-inflammatory drugs reduced Asterix's pain. Physical therapy techniques from Earth's ancient veterinary medicine helped strengthen atrophied muscles. Slowly, impossibly, Asterix began to respond. The creature started eating. The trembling decreased. The dull eye brightened with curiosity. Lena fashioned a grooming tool from station scrap and spent hours cleaning Asterix's hide, removing years of battle grime. By the 3rd week, the warhorse leaned into her touch. You're beautiful, Lena whispered one night. You're safe now. Asterix made a low, resonant hum, the first voluntary sound it had made. Months passed. The station's residents thought she was insane, wasting resources on a broken war beast. But Lena had learned something important. Most species saw creatures like Asterix as tools. It was a human trait to see potential for redemption, even in the most damaged souls. The breakthrough came when Asterix approached and gently pressed its forehead against Lena's. Chest, trust, affection, bond, we're family now, Lena whispered. Nobody's ever going to hurt you again. 6 months after the auction, a Solarian military officer arrived with armed escorts. We've come to reclaim military property, he stated. Warhorse designation *773 was illegally sold. I bought * legally, Lena said steadily. I have documentation. The creature is Solarian property. The creature has a name. And * isn't property anymore. The officer's hand moved toward his weapon. Step aside, human. * moved with impossible speed, placing itself between Lena and the soldiers. All 6 legs planted firmly, head lowered in threat. The neural ports flared with bioelectric energy, but it wasn't aggression that stopped them. It was the sound * made, a deep, resonant call of defiance, of choice, of a creature that had found something worth protecting. The officer stared, something shifting in his expression. You rehabilitated it. Warhorses don't recover from that level of damage. He paused. How? Lena stepped beside *, her hand on its shoulder. I treated * like a living being instead of a weapon. I gave care, time, respect. Maybe that's something humans understand better than most. Finally, the officer straightened. Our records will be amended. Warhorse *773 is listed as killed in action. He looked at Lena with respect. Take care of it, human. You've earned that right. Years passed. * thrived in ways that astonished everyone. The creature's physical transformation was remarkable. Regular care and proper nutrition allowed complete healing. But the psychological transformation was more profound. * discovered gentleness. The warhorse became a fixture in the lower decks where workers would pause to offer treats. Children would visit, and * would lower its massive head to let tiny hands pat scarred armor. Word spread throughout the galaxy. The story of the human girl who bought a broken warhorse and transformed it through compassion became legend. Scientists came to study. Military officials observed. Their combat doctrines challenged, but most significantly, other damaged war beasts began arriving at Theta Station. Their handlers came seeking the human who could rehabilitate what everyone else deemed beyond saving. Lena's quarters expanded into a proper facility. She trained other humans in her methods, teaching that patience and empathy could achieve what technology could not. The rehabilitation center became a place where creatures bred for violence could learn peace. And through it all, * remained at the center, living proof that even the most damaged soul could heal. On the 5-year anniversary, Lena stood watching * interact with a newly arrived war beast, a terrified creature that flinched at every sound. * moved slowly, carefully, demonstrating impossible gentleness. A fellow worker approached. They're calling it the human protocol now, your method of rehabilitation. Lena smiled softly. It's not really a protocol. It's just treating living beings like they matter, like they deserve a second chance. Maybe that's the most human thing of all. Seeing potential where others see only waste. Perhaps he was right. As Lena watched * gently coax the new arrival toward food, she thought about all the species she'd encountered. So many were more advanced than humanity, stronger, faster, more intelligent. But humanity had something that couldn't be quantified. They had an almost stubborn refusal to accept that anything was beyond redemption. They saw suffering and chose compassion. * turned, that one crystalline eye finding Lena through the window. The warhorse's posture shifted, a gesture of recognition and affection. Lena pressed her hand against the glass. They had saved each other. Lena had given * a life beyond war, and * had given Lena purpose, proof that gentleness could triumph over violence, that patience could heal what force could only break. In a galaxy that measured worth in weapons and conquests, a human girl and a broken warhorse had discovered something more valuable, the transformative power of compassion. And the universe, for all its vastness and cruelty, had taken notice.